What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and our team that does that has reached out directly and indirectly to over 300,000 fathers around the world and dads and male caregivers since 2020. I also am proud and happy to be a featured content provider on the Fly Nubian Queen YouTube channel run by Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. Tagline of Fly Nubian Queens, where Black women have a voice. And coming up, if you're watching this before March 25th, 2024, content now going to be on some of my content that I host or create will be on Indie Soup Media, which is a new independent content creators network that is going to be available on Facebook, YouTube, and Roku. And that has a reach of over 1 million people. That is run by our great friend, Dr. Tachi. So that's a little bit about me. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we are broadcasting live on March 23rd. And you know what? Let's bring them on. There's a LaLa, dark LaLa in the house, who's a little frozen, but she's there. What is up, Aisha? What is up, LaLa?
Hey.
Oh, I am on the struggle bus. I'm freezing.
I'm on the struggle bus.
I am. We're just having a hard time on this internet hill.
Oh my goodness. What's been going on, ladies? How's things going on in your worlds?
Nothing. I'm excited about the Roku because I've been spending a lot of time on Roku, on my Roku channel, my TV, because I do instead of doing the conventional cable, I do direct TV streaming. So that's how I get all my cable channels. But I also look at the channels that are on Roku too. And so like last night, while I was waiting for the vote on the budget, I spent all my night on the Roku Dateline channel.
Oh geez. Good night.
And I find that has been like the channel that I play when I'm ready to go to sleep.
Oh my gosh. Did you watch Dateline
I
last
love
night?
that. I love crime and all that stuff. I love it.
Me too. I did watch Dateline last night. The story about Egypt Covington.
Yes.
It was a very, very good one. I fell asleep like the last 20 minutes, but I recorded it, so I finished watching it.
I won't tell you. I
really
won't say anything.
No, I know it happens. I watched the last 20 minutes today.
All right. Well, and it's, so for everyone watching live or replay or listening on replay, two of the regular hosts on Dateline are Canadian born. Hello.
Right.
It's Andrea Canning and Keith Morrison, both Canadian born. And actually, Andrea went to a school, did her schooling in Toronto, believe it or not.
Who is Keith Morrison married to? Because he's married to someone.
That's a darn good question. I am not 100%.
Either his wife is famous or they have like her son.
We'll have to find that out.
The wife died, I think.
Yeah.
Or no, she was sick. But gosh, I can't remember who the son is of the wife. But
I'll have to research that. That. LaLa, how we doing? You holding up okay digitally?
We have to make sure that we still can do this. It's not functioning. The gremlins have got me.
No, it's okay. If
you might have to turn your camera off.
Yeah, if you have to turn off your camera, that's what I was gonna say. If you have to turn off your camera, no worries. You're still here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to, because this topic tonight, guys, I really do not want to be talking to you about.
Yeah,
okay,
we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as we're in appetizer mode, anything else we want to chat about before we go all in? And today's conversation is rare because both Aisha and LaLa are going to basically talk about one topic tonight.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen that often. So I want to say hello, Jen Myers. Hello, JJ Mars. I always ask JJ Mars, how's the weather in Colorado? Hope it's okay. Actually, here in Toronto, we had 6 inches of snow yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, really?
6 inches of snow. Oh, what is up, Free
Wow.
Will? Yes, what is up, Free Will? Good to have you here. Yeah, it's 6 inches of snow. It's it was and it basically fell afternoon and evening. 6 inches of snow.
Winter this year has been kind
Wow.
of like that cold that you think is going away and then it just comes back, and then it goes away, and then it comes back.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
remember that in Colorado a lot. You would think that it was spring, and then the next day you'd get like 6 inches of snow. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And then JJ.
That's right.
Oh,
Matthew Perry's mother, Matthew Perry from Friends, who died. That Steve Morrison is his stepfather.
right there. Thank you again for all the great family. JJ Mar says, nice today. Snow expected on tomorrow in Colorado. And wow, look at this. Share night.
Hi.
Yes. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope the greeting card, well, most importantly, hope you and your family are safe. And hopefully the greeting cards are going well. And Free Will, you say, YouTube, can I have full access? Full access to what? That's what I need to know about. Sometimes people ask me questions and I don't know. So if you can be more detailed, that's great. Want to shout out everyone who's watching on the Fly Nubian Queen Network. Thank you so much. Everyone, wherever you are, however you're watching, thank you so much. And as always, love to get comments in real time. Put them up as soon as possible. What do you mean you won't say anything offensive? Okay, all right.
So before we jump into the main thing that main thing that we're here, 2 things though I wanted to bring up. The first was that they, with the budget yesterday, they finally voted on the budget 3:00 in the morning. The Senate voted on it, but they cut the Office of Diversity and Inclusion in the president's cabinet, and so all those people will be losing their jobs.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
What a surprise. DEI
Yep.
is DIE.
Yeah. So
I'm
they
tired.
killed,
I'm
yeah. So they
tired of
killed that.
Come on.
They killed that.
We fought for that. I'm
This
sorry, but we fought for that.
Yeah, this is like the first step to our subject at hand today. But also we were talking about earlier, will this man come up with his $454 million?
And I told you he would.
I'm sure he will, and it will come from foreign entities, which means that
Yes, it will.
And we won't know, because that he gets to keep that separate and secret, and we should all be very frightened if he comes up with it.
Yeah, but he's going to be isn't he putting True Social, offering investment in True Social, or putting on the stock market, something like that. So
yeah, but the thing is that it's not worth what he's trying to get for it.
Of course not, but
he's trying to get $3 billion for it, and it wouldn't be able to be liquidated as quickly. I mean, Monday's the deadline. It hasn't been placed on the stock exchange, and it hasn't been bought yet. I mean, that takes time. But he's trying
to get us to buy it.
Of course. But someone was saying that he's valuing it at $3 billion, but he has 15 million followers or people signed up for Truth Social compared to the 125 million people that Taylor Swift has following her on social media. So you tell me who's worth more.
Well, some would say neither are worth a lot, but that's another conversation. So, all right. Regina says True Social won't be traded until 6 months from now.
Right.
Free Will says sometimes YouTube regulate.
Did you turn off the children's? There should be something on your YouTube.
I have it there. Yeah, I got that.
He should also have it on his one to do it too.
Yeah. So JG Mar says 45s creative financing will probably go bad.
Not probably. That's a definite.
Free Will says 15 million. Wow. And we lost LaLa for a moment, which is not a surprise, but hopefully she'll come back. So, because I could see her reception was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
And also while we're talking about this with him and his money, this is the large headline that everybody's focusing on. These other smaller headlines, like I said about the Office of Diversity and Inclusion closing, is being overshadowed, which is just as important, but it's being overshadowed by him. It's being overshadowed that, for example, like Kentucky signing their anti-DEI law into place means that students who go to the state schools in Kentucky cannot use minority scholarships. If you get a scholarship that is given to minority students, right? Suppose you are a journalism major at University of Kentucky and you get a scholarship through the National Association of Black Journalists, you cannot use that scholarship.
There you go. No, I forgot. Like, there's so many stories that if you don't listen to the outlets that give full news, you don't know a lot of stuff that's going on.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that we really have to caution our audience about, and people just in general. You have to get your news from a multitude of sources.
Absolutely.
You can't just rely on the one source, because the one source will give you what they are programmed to give you. You have to really look elsewhere. And also, too, I implore you to look at the small headlines, like the things they mention at the end, like just as a side story. They don't go into it, but they mention it. Go back and look at those issues, because this one with Kentucky had been one of those side issues all week long. And now we're seeing the effects of what was really in that law. Like, for example, they're just like, yeah, they're closing the DEI. They did the same thing. It's like Alabama did it. Florida did it. But what they didn't mention was the fact that these students, minority students, cannot use minority scholarships. Okay. And that is a huge problem.
And the funny thing, you talk about the passing the budget. I didn't hear until this, like during the week, I didn't hear much about it. Like 2-3 weeks ago, I did, but I didn't hear like the whole last week. Now, family, I'm not deep. I don't go deep in news, but I do listen to certain outlets. They hardly mention. Then I heard on news, oh, they passed it at whatever hour of the morning. Like, again, yes, I live in Canada.
3 a.m. because I saw the headline, the breaking news. But here's the problem with that is that what people didn't understand was that if the Senate did not pass it, the Senate at the last minute came up with, effectively, the government did shut down at 11:59 because they hadn't voted to pass the budget yet. So it closed down for a few hours, but that was in early morning. Nobody's working, so didn't really impact anyone. But what they didn't say was that the Senate had wanted to make some of their own changes to the budget, and they couldn't do that because if they had, then it would have to go back to the House for the House to accept the changes from the Senate, then go back to the Senate for one last look before it went to the president. And the problem is that on Thursday, the House went into recess for 2 weeks. So there was no way they were going to call them all back for this. It was going to have to be another 2 weeks. So we would have had a lot of people on furlough, a lot of people not getting paid for 2 weeks, our military not getting paid for 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's like, again, it was almost like a non-story about this, but I guess, it was almost like a non-story, which is quite interesting. Got some more people commenting. So Free Will goes, Aisha from
Connecticut.
Yes, I don't know. Again, you got to put full comments out because a lot of times when you make the comment, whatever topic or sentence, we've already gone past it. So be as full as possible with your comments. So JG Mars says Black athletes should boycott these big football universities. That would cause hundreds of millions of dollars of lost revenue from both school and state. Interesting, JG Mars. I don't know. Was it the NCAA? NCAA was saying they're trying to get Black athletes to go to Florida colleges and universities because obviously there's a lot of anti-DEIism going on in Florida, and it seems that a number of Black athletes are thinking about or leaving Florida schools because of the way the political climate is in Florida, and especially
Well,
with
it's
their
interesting
schools.
that you mentioned the NCAA like this week, and I watched the games. I watched the first
March
four,
Madness.
started watching the Final Four, and you had two HBCUs, one in the first four, that's Howard University.
Yep.
Then Grambling State was in the Final Four. And
No, they're not in the Final Four. They just started it this week.
They started. Their game was day before yesterday.
Okay.
Grambling. No, Howard was last week. There's his day before yesterday. But the good thing about it is that HBCUs are now being able to compete at the same level as some of these other colleges and universities in the NCAA. That is a good thing, because that means that Black athletes will now have options. They don't have to go to these universities, like you say, JJ Mars. They can go to the HBCUs and know that they have a chance at these tournaments.
There you go. So Free Will says, okay, Connecticut. That's all. Doctor, I know you're out of Toronto. Absolutely. There we go. That's what we like, Free Will. But it's good to have you back. Free Will, I'd love to have an offline conversation with you, because you and I find each other in a number of different chats, and we're saying hello to each other. So if you're up to it sometime, would love to have an offline conversation with you. 11 minutes of your time. We could just chat and make things happen. But I think the whole area about college athletics is a whole other conversation.
Oh yeah, it is a big conversation.
It's a very big conversation. Some people call it college plantation.
Yeah.
So, and all that. So, you know what we're going to do, I think we're going to go for a break.
Okay.
And because I see that LaLa is back, but I don't want to have her come in and then do a break. So what we're going to do, family, we're going to go for a break. And when we come back, the ladies, you're going to catch a rare primetime moment. The ladies are going all in on one topic.
And it's an important one.
It's an important one. Now, if
the
you're
most
watching,
important one of the year.
For Americans, especially, they think, and the thing is, if you are watching from Fly Nubian Queen and you saw the promo for it, you know what we're talking about. If you didn't, hang around anyways, because I created a different thumbnail for the Fly Nubian Queen family. Yep. All right, so keep it locked. We'll be back in 2 minutes, and we're speaking that LaLa is going to be with us too, and then we're just going to go all in that on a topic that every American should know about, because it could come into effect in less than a year.
Especially Black voters.
In less than a year. So what, as Mary J. Blige would say, you're going to get the 411 on this topic. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
And that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. Now, really, the rappers get all the attention. Seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Like the twerkers and the just people that don't always represent the best of us. The diversity. Like people like Dr. Vibe. Like everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr. Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people.
Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him. The men who are also doing the same thing. I see Dr. Vibe in here. He's a great brother. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. He's a smart brother in Canada, and we need to follow smart people. So follow Dr. Vibe if you see him in the chat. And Dr. Vibe, say your name in the chat so people can see you. I want you to click on his name, and I want you to go follow him, please, because I want these men and women that are doing the right things to get the support they deserve. Hey, Dr. Vibe, how you doing, brother? Again, like I always do, I got to say everybody should go follow Dr. Vibe. He's got a great show. Dr. Vibe, I know Dr. Vibe's got a kingdom because I see your channel. I see you pouring into that every day. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. Look him up, Dr. Vibe, V-I-B-E. He's a great friend of me and my wife, and I love this guy.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. A lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
All right. So before we bring LaLa back and get right into few things. Primetime Saturday show store. There's the link. Patreon, catching the 10 and 10 conversation series between Aisha and LaLa. There's the link. I'll also be sharing it on the platforms during the conversation. Join our Discord group where we continue the conversation in between live conversations. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. Hit the notification button. Also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And also to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I host or I'm a part of. I'd love to get an American sponsor. I have an international one and I have 2 local Toronto ones. Got to see if we can get it. So if you know anyone who would like to get some sponsorship or do some sponsorship on our platform, let's make it happen. And okay, and as soon as I want to bring LaLa up, we lost her again. Oh my gosh. All right, so before we do any further, okay, there's some and Free Will Loves, beautiful commercial. Well, thank you. I did it myself. I'm not no editing genius. But you know what? I just threw it together, and thank you so much for your support on that. Love it. Appreciate it. So you know what? With or without LaLa, we're going to get it started. So the main conversation topic for today's conversation is Project 2025, officially the Presidential Transition Project. Aisha, start it off.
So give a little bit of a background. This plan, the structure of it is actually 50 years old. It's based upon the Reagan transition plan from 50 years ago, 1981. And what they did was they added more things to it. If you can remember the Reagan era, if you were alive at that point, you remember there was the war on drugs, Reagan's policy with AIDS and not doing anything really, and allowing it to spread. And also there was the Reaganomics, which was a terrible, terrible, terrible economic policy. It severely impacted Black and Brown communities, especially. And also there were, let's see, what else happened in the Reagan era that didn't really happen, that didn't happen in the Trump era? Absolutely nothing. Just about everything you saw happen. I think the only thing that didn't happen really in the Trump era was a pandemic that didn't happen in the Reagan era. But here's where we are. And it's a book, Project 2025. They have put all this in a book. There are more than 100 organizations signed up to it. It's the brainchild of the Heritage Foundation. We know the Heritage Foundation because they gave us 3 Supreme Court justices, Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and Neil Gorsuch. So keep in mind, this is the organization, the group that fundamentally wanted to get rid of Roe, and they did effectively. So if they could do that, imagine what else that they can do to us. And their principal belief with this Project 2025 is that they believe that the left is restricting the freedoms of Americans severely. But when you read their policy, they want to restrict the freedoms of Americans. And this is their plan for governing after Trump. I think before the challenge that they had in executing this earlier was because they didn't necessarily think that Trump would win. They also didn't know how much they could control him. So now here we are. They know that Trump could possibly win. They also know that they would have a modicum of control over him because he is really fired up over revenge and anger. And this plan really reads like a plan of revenge and anger. So it's right up his alley. As he's out there talking and stoking the fires of hate, they're back here putting these things in place. They've already identified people who would be carrying out these policies. One of the first things that they want to do is expand the expand the reach of the president. So you know how Trump feels like, he has unfettered power as president, and he could do anything. If you're the president, you can do anything. That's what he says about the Presidential Records Act and all this other stuff, which it's not true. But under this Project 2025, it would become true. They would expand the powers under I believe it's Article 2 that defines the president in the Constitution and what the presidential powers are. And this whole project outline book, it's a 900-page book. I beg of many of you to read it. It's online. You can read it section by section. LaLa and I went through, broke it down, but it does one thing and one thing only, in my opinion, and it's that it returns the United States to a slaveholding nation. And what do I mean by that? I mean that under slavery, a multiracial, gendered, pluralistic society was not in existence. And those are all the things that they're trying to get rid of. Not only would it severely would restrict the rights of LGBTQ folks, any person of color, women, essentially anyone who is not white, heterosexual, male on the religious right. So even if you are someone who fits all those other categories, but you're, say, Jewish or, say, Muslim or Hindu or any other kind of religion, they're coming after you too, because they want to reshape the United States into a Christian nationalist nation. That is the plan. And the plan operates on 4 different pillars.
Okay, before you go any further, if you want to put yourself on mute and just blow your nose, you can do that, because I know you're sniffling a lot. I'm going to see if LaLa, are you back with us?
You know what? Somebody does not want me to talk about this subject, but I am going to talk about this subject. I wish y'all could see me running around my house trying to make sure everything was unplugged, replugged, and here I am. Ta-da!
You are here. You are here. And
LaLa has a cold and I have the allergies. I took allergy medicine during the break, so hopefully I'll be better.
Okay. Free Will says, I hear what Aisha is saying. So you have part of the choir on that. And lots of people, especially tuning in live through the Fly Nubian Queen YouTube channel. So if you haven't been here before, it is Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa, where the 2 wonderful Black women try to make sense of the nonsense and sense that's going on in America. So today's conversation, they're going to be talking about Project 2025, which, if it goes ahead within less than a year, things are going to change. Well, they're always changing in America, but they're going to radically change in America. So LaLa, Aisha gave a start. How about you give a little high level what you think about Project 2025?
Well, here's where I feel we are already in the danger. This isn't something that is just been put on paper. This has been around for years. I'm sure Aisha mentioned that because that was one thing that both blew our minds when we first started researching this. But here's where I truly think this was set into place already. We are already seeing the things that are in this Project 2025. We're seeing the DEA being dismantled. We're seeing the states doing what they want to do. We're seeing the Christian right wing do everything they want to do to put into place. We have the Moms of Liberty. We have the Heritage Foundation. You cannot tell me they have not started this. They have aligned themselves. They have already chosen who they're going to put into all of these positions that they are dismantling. And as soon as that anything gets turned over to whoever it is in president, now this time around we know it's Trump, but don't get it twisted. They had this plan for whoever was going to get in. And so now what they're going to do is pull all the strings that they were just waiting for over these years to do. Now, here's what I think. I honestly think they were ready to pull these strings on the 2016 election. However, they did not think or even had any kind of inkling that Trump was going to win. It was a fluke thing. I honestly don't even think Trump thought he was going to win, to be honest. But now that he's got that taste of power, of course, he's going to go for it. And he's going to, of course, align with these people so that he can get the power. Because what this does, it literally strips our government of absolutely everything. I don't think you understand me when I say it is stripping our government of everything and gives all power to the president of the United States of America. And what he chooses to do is what we are going to be stuck with. So if you ever thought that you were safe in any kind of way, you better check yourself. Because if you're not white Christian, I don't care who you think you are, Nikki Haley and everybody else who thought they was going to run. If you got an iota inkling of a piece of color in you, they are coming after you. They do not want anything to do with LGBTQ plus. They don't want anything to do with any of us minorities, and they can't wait to put the punishment on us that they've been wanting to do for so long. And what makes it even more dangerous is now they have fodder for the fire because we had a black president, and now they're going to punish us.
Yep. And the reason why this is so important, not just to America at large, it's so important to Black folks because we know that their code word for Black is woke. Woke is in that document at least once or twice every page. It's got 900 pages, and and here's what they describe. They describe there are two things that they say that this would do. The American right has concrete plans and a detailed strategy to reform the government so that it does two things: one, revenge against what they view as the woke enemy, and two, create a society that is in direct opposition of the will of the people. And what they see this as is their way of eliminating all of the hurdles that were in front of the president before, so that he has total, complete, unchecked power. By doing that, the other thing that should alarm you is that, as you know, all the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch act as co-equal branches of government. That will change with 2025. The president will have unchecked power and not be on the equal playing field with the legislature or the judicial branches.
No, so they want to get rid of that. Right. They don't want the three rings.
Right. So they could not hold him accountable for anything.
This is why it's so important to understand why Trump is doing what he's doing right now by going to the Supreme Court and asking for immunity. Do you see how all this is aligning with what this paperwork is? And I see some of the crazy comments, but let me tell you something. If you are not worried about this and you're saying that we're crazy, you wait till they come after you because you are next. There is something they don't like about you. And I don't care if it's something as simple as you're blonde and you don't look like the Stepford wives, because this is coming. It's here. It's here.
Yep. And in their reshaping of America, there is no difference between the religious right and extreme white supremacists.
And the thing is, they're hiding behind this thing. They're calling it the blessed part of our Declaration of Independence of Liberty. Well, whose liberty? It's only their liberty. Exactly. If you are not in line with them, then your liberty doesn't matter. You don't matter. You get stripped away. You no longer get services to help you and your family. If you are not the right kind of parent that they want you to be, they will strip you of your children and throw you in jail for child abuse. That is what they're looking for. They're looking for absolute totalitarian authority, period.
Yep. And it's based on Christian nationalism. That is going to be at the heart of every policy. We have a country. They're going to get rid of that separation of church and state. We will be a government that is formed for the church, by the church. That is what they're trying to reshape the government into. And here's the part about that always trips me up, is that these are people who aren't very serious people, but they're definitely not very serious when it comes to what they know about the Bible and Christianity itself.
They pick and choose.
But
here's something very important that you guys should know about this document. Now, I know that many of you are saying, I don't have time to read 900 pages. Well, honey, if you could sit down and read a novel, you have time to sit down and read what they are getting ready to do to us. And let me tell you something. It's just a paragraph a day. Why don't you just sit down and check it out? The free copy is on there. They're not ashamed of it. They're having all sorts of platforms to talk about how they're going to do. They're putting it in your face. But let me tell you something. You have the time and you should be very concerned to know what's in it. It reads like a horror novel. It reads like something out of science fiction, but this is true life and you need to be concerned. But here's what is very important about this document. None of the religious people are mentioned in this document. So to me, these are fake so-called Christians because, you know, they don't really quite align with the Christians are saying. So they have separated themselves under the guise of religion to move forward to have the religious actually back them. This is smoke and mirrors at its best.
Yeah. And I agree with LaLa. You have the time to read it because we have the time to read it and we have busy lives too. The thing is, if you go to their website, they have broken it up into different sections. So read a section at a time. Even if you skim through it, it'll be enough to catch your attention. And like, I mean, if we're going to get into this, they have decided how education will function, healthcare, criminal justice, and other public policy issues that every American
Medicare, Social Security. Come on now.
Exactly. And what we want to do is kind of break down some of that stuff. So, LaLa, you want to start or you want me to go or break down?
Okay, before LaLa, maybe it's good you're not on camera because I think your hands would be in the air like this, like you sometimes do.
How did you know? I am over here throwing fits.
I know that. So just some comments before we go any further. Regina says, so the KKK operating from the Oval Office. I can't read 900 pages of nuttiness, but I will work hard at getting out the vote. Whatever you fear, you bring near. 45 will never win again. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
I don't either.
And goes, justice is why he wants to be in office, to clear his name, Free Will says. He also says,
but then the question is, why doesn't he want to leave after he clears his name? He doesn't want to leave. And this plan is set so that he would never leave. He'd be president.
Never leave. Dictatorship. Yes. Dictatorship, baby.
So if 45 became president, what is he going? I don't know after his name. I don't understand that question. Okay. Yeah. Okay. MD underscore Ray says, this is a Black First channel. Why is the LGBTQers folks being mentioned?
Because there are LGBTQ Black people, and you have two parents right here of LGBTQ people. Very proud. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you don't like that, I'm sorry. This may not be the channel for you because I will not put my son's rights on a side note.
All right. Okay.
Black is black. That's what Positive News said in Me, Myself, and I. He quoted the Q-tip. Black is black.
Okay. So MD underscore Ready says, since it's here, let's band together and support B1 only. We have to fight back. The suffering is already here for Blacks. No need to be in fear. Let's do something about it. And then
I'm not scared. I'm ready to fight.
Free Will says, relax, Aisha. It's not going to be that bad.
Says. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, ladies,
go ahead. MD Ready, you're right. We have to fight back, but we have to also inform. And one of my favorites, Joy Reid says, scaring is caring. We're not really trying to scare people. We're trying to inform you. The thing is that it is scary when you read it, because you already can see, as you read it, you will see all the different ways that they have set this up already. You see the threads of it already in terms of how our legislative body is acting, particularly, put it this way, the things that we see happening in states like Florida, Kentucky, Alabama, Texas are only
already in that document.
Only the tip of what they plan on doing for the whole country.
Basically, what they want to do is like gridlock that happens in the Senate and the House. Basically, what if 45 is president? What he says goes, and no one impasses in the Senate. like Senate pushing back would not exist anymore. So is this
We
basically
wouldn't have a Congress. We wouldn't have a Senate because they're going to just do away with all of that. They will
Right.
just be there in the beginning to just look like they're doing anything, but they're
And they
not.
want to change the way that they're elected. That's the other part of it too, is that the role of the legislature will be different. It won't be to put a check and balance on the president. It will be to just co-sign with what the president wants.
Whether they like it or not.
Right.
okay, but my question would be, say 45's in office, he wants something done, he declares this, the Senate House would have no check and balance power at all. And how does
No.
how does this then get implemented? Because I don't see
You
how
gotta
this.
remember, there were 4 pillars. Remember, I started mentioning the 4 pillars. One of those pillars is executive order.
Yes.
He would expand the number of, through an executive order, he would expand the number of executive orders that the president could have. Then by executive order, he will declare the president, the office of the presidency, to be the top tier of government. And
So that there won't ever be 3 rings again.
Okay.
Right. And
Got
so
it.
that way, and by doing it that way, he ensures that they can't be a check and balance, because they can't do anything about the executive
So
order.
this would make the Constitution null and void, right?
Pretty much.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It'll make the Constitution be what the president wants it to be, what the
Okay.
president says it will be. And like,
but don't get it twisted. It's gonna be the people who's put him in there. It's
Right.
like, it's wash your back, I've washed yours. You've put me here, so therefore you'll get everything that you want.
exactly.
Okay. I know there's more to discuss that you want to bring to the table, so I'll stop there. You ladies can continue on, because I have a number of conversation pieces, so keep on going.
Well, we can dive into some of the actual policy pieces. We can do this like we do our 10 and 10, Laura, where I'll
Yes.
do one and you do one. Okay, so
Yes.
first one I want to talk about is the climate policy. They're going to totally dismantle the climate policy, meaning that our air quality will diminish. They're going to get rid of the Reinvestment Act, which did a lot in terms of clean technology and helping to improve air. And this is also going to affect the EPA. I mean, it's going to affect also the FDA. Anything that's regulated like that keeps us healthy on the outside. But it's going to really affect Black and Brown communities, especially because, think of it, the majority of us live in cities. We have approximation to big cities,
Exactly.
metropolitan centers, where the highest amount of traffic is, where you see more cars, you see more buses, you see more trucks going through these neighborhoods. So if they don't have to do emissions testing and reduce the exhaust, if the gasoline that we use doesn't get filtered correctly, people are going to get sick. We already have high rates of asthma and allergies in our community that is going to be exacerbated by this lack of climate policy. And that's the first one that I have, LaLa.
Well, and I'm going to piggyback on what Aisha said, because most of the time they put these industrial plants and things of that nature in our neighborhoods. And then, of course, we can't fight them for years, even though we get sick. Any kind of lawsuit will also be thrown out when they decide they're just going to take over everything. So you won't be able to sue the government for what they're doing in your neighborhoods. So you really need to think about that. And I'm telling you from experience as a real estate agent, most of the time that is where they're putting all of these dangerous places like the oil, the refineries and things of that nature go in our neighborhoods. You don't see that stuff going in Beverly Hills. All right. You don't see that going into the rich communities. You see that happening in the poor communities. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is how they are going to make sure that they take over the voting part. They're going to make sure that you don't have any right at all, because see, they didn't win by cheating. So therefore now they're going to make sure that they put into place that your vote really does not count. And what they are claiming is that they're going to say they have fairness in the elections to balance everything. But in actuality, their strategy dismantles any kind of claims or voting fraud, despite being debunked by what they said. So once they put these things into place, they've redrawn the lines, they've given you extra things to do, just like the 40s and 50s and 60s, on what you need to do to even be able to vote. And they're going to strip you of that. And then if you still can vote that way, if you have a question about your vote, or maybe you have a mail-in vote, because believe it or not, guys, they actually are pushing for mail-in. Why? Why are they pushing for mail-in? Because that is very easy to cheat. So they are stripping you of your voting rights and your voting voice. You need to pay attention, because you need to be checking what's going on in your neighborhoods, especially in this election. Make sure you are completely registered. Have all your paperwork in check. If you have to stand in line to vote, it's very much worth it, because this may be the last time, if they get in, that you'll ever have a voice that really matters. They'll pretend like you're doing something, but they've already put into place that your vote truly will not matter.
Mm-hmm. And the next thing I'm going to mention is the economy.
Aisha, can I just interrupt for a second? I just want to catch up on some comments, because I don't want to get too far behind. So MD_Ray says black first. Free Will says they will do what they do. That's what they do. That's all. MD_Ready says, yes, let's keep our folks informed. None of these politicians care about blacks. We are like toilet paper for them, used and flushed. And black community has to do what Asian and Hispanics do. He also, MD_Ready says, Dr. Claude Anderson has given us a plan in Powernomics. Let's follow it. And then Free Will says 45. Dr. Vibe 45 will pardon himself with his selfish blank. All right. Okay. We're caught up.
The economy. The Federal Reserve System requires full employment. Okay. When the economy does well, when there's full employment. Of course, we have the issue of interest. Interest fluctuates, but you got to remember, a lot of the prices and things, we think about interest in terms of the cost of eggs going up, the cost of gas going up. That's not necessarily true. We have to separate this, because they keep conflating it and it confuses people. The interest rates mostly affect things like loans, credit cards, those kinds of things. Your regular daily expenses has nothing to do with the government. That is because of the people, the corporations, the businesses taking advantage of the fact. Well, what are people going to do? They can't get eggs. They just can't get eggs, right? No, we'll raise the price. You want to know why produce is so expensive? Because Ron DeSantis and his laws in Florida not hiring the migrants that come here and making them afraid to go there, because they're the ones who were picking all the produce. So this thing about the Federal Reserve requiring full employment, they want to get rid of full employment. Mm-hmm. Unemployment works for what they want, because remember how rampant unemployment was after 2008 in that stock market crash? They want us to go back to those numbers. Of course, some prices will go down, but you'll have an increase in people who can't afford anything. They can't afford to live, because we'll have a population that is largely unemployed. And the individual income will also be broken down into two brackets. There will be the 15% and the 30%. And this they have used, instead of above the poverty line, where that's where you see the things like 150%, 200. No, they have put it at the Social Security base wage, which was $142,800 in 2021. So what does that mean? Anyone who's making below that is going to be considered poor. Right now, you can be considered middle class. Anyone below that is going to be considered poor. Not only that, but you will have a flat tax on your wages. Flat tax. not a percentage of what you make, but a flat tax. So for example, if you have a job where you have a base salary and you get commission, what the amount of taxes you pay per year fluctuates because of the commission. This time you won't have a fluctuation. You will have a flat tax. And so if you make that commission, or if you don't make that commission, imagine if you don't make that commission, it's even a larger percentage of your income that's going to be taken away. And not only that, while they're taxing you, and while they're saying that you can't be above poverty if you're not making this amount of money, they are going to lower the corporate tax rate from 21%, which is what it is now, to 18%. Imagine how much money somebody like Elon Musk, if he didn't have to pay the 21% for Tesla, but only had to pay 18%, imagine how many hundreds of millions of dollars that would be. Well, if that's the case, the federal government has to get it from somewhere. Where is it going to be? It's going to come from the rest of us. And actually, these corporations should be paying 35% on the interest rate.
Okay, just Green says Fisk U is my alma mater.
Mine too.
Free Will says, Aisha, this is a lot of generalization, respectfully.
No, it's in their plan.
Okay.
We're not telling you just the no. This is what was in their plan.
Okay. LaLa, I'll let you come with something. There's a question here, but I'll wait till you come back because I like to make sure both of you. One other thing, Green says cost of 78. No, it's 99. All right. So Aisha, LaLa, go ahead.
Well, my next is the education. Our education system is already being dismantled. We are already seeing some of these things put into place, but this is a huge part of what they're planning on doing to reshape and dismantle our education system and align it to their own ideas of what it should be. Now, the first thing is they're getting rid of the critical race theory. We already know that they've already started putting this into place, but they actually see this as a threat to any kind of growth in our country, especially since they don't include anyone that is not a part of their agenda. So anything that is going to have to do with cultural things or related to race, law, and power, that they don't want anything that will not be taught in their K-12 schools. So basically your books that your children are going to be reading are going to be completely whitewashed. It's already starting. There is 3 different versions in Florida of Rosa Parks' experience with the bus ride in Montgomery. The first one actually says, because of her color, she was supposed to sit in the back. And then the second one said, she was asked to sit in the back because of her color of her skin. And then the other one says, she was just asked to sit in the back. So you can actually see it doesn't give a reason why that happened and gave no context of it. So this is part of how they're going to be putting that into the books. They're also going to be pushing legislation to limit educational content. Because actually they want to dismantle public schools. They want everything to go into some type of paid system, which we know that will immediately disservice minorities and people of color, because those need the funding the most. So if you remove that funding, you're not going to be able to have any money for your children to be educated. And therefore, you're going to be kind of forced to do the homeschooling. Well, who has time to homeschool when they have to work 40 and 50 hours a week just to buy that carton of eggs that now costs $13? They're going to be pushing the patriotic education. Now, I don't know about y'all, but anytime I see patriotic now, it makes me want to throw up. Because I don't want to be referred to as anything patriotic or patriotism, because to me that means racism. That is the new word. Since they want to take woke, I'm going to take patriot. because that means you are a racist, because everything that everybody is here, we're a melting pot, you want to take away from. So that's not being a patriot, that's being a racist. And they want to make sure that they undermine the public education by making sure that they take care of all the curricular things that are being taught, taking away the freedoms of the teachers to be able to say certain things in the classroom. It absolutely makes it impossible for them to teach when they can't teach and answer questions when children have them, because children are naturally inquisitive. They will ask questions. But when you are going to threaten to throw our teachers into jail because you broke the law of what they don't want you to do, then who's going to want to teach? So you see how this ball of confusion all comes down to they want control over what they want to teach you. They want to create the children of the corn. And that's basically how they want to lay this out.
And one more point on the education is it also comes in with their plan against pornography, and they have a broad brush as to what they consider pornography. So if you're like me and LaLa and you love Prince, that is pornography. That would be considered pornography under the regulations and stipulations that they say. If you're a parent, and you see a book at a school that tells about menstruation, things that girls need to know at that age, and things boys need to know at that age, a parent can complain. It can be considered pornography, and then the parent or the educator that has that, librarian that has it in their classroom, will be put on a sex offender registry. You don't believe me?
Yes.
That is what is in there.
And that will follow you for life, guys. And that also includes, when you're put on that list, anywhere you move, you will be on that list, and you will be a target. And there are people who can turn you down for where you live or run you out of your city because you have that on your record.
Or lose your job.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's catch up with some more conversation. MD_ready says,
you said Jen had a question first.
Yeah, I'm going to get through the comments, then come to question. Voting, MD_ready says, voting doesn't matter. It's a facade. We need to band together, and a flat tax is awesome, especially if it's low. Good luck. Why not encouraging more blacks to become investors, entrepreneurs, and to own real estate?
I just think you're being contrary on purpose. Voting doesn't matter. It's a facade. Okay, we'll see what happens if black folks stay home.
Okay.
If this doesn't sound like something if this sounds good to you, then perhaps you're watching the wrong show.
All right. MD_ready.
One more thing about the flat tax.
Yeah.
A flat tax. Right now, people are already paying 35% of their income. What is to stop them from making the flat tax 50% of your income?
All right. If that's the case, we should all need to follow Elon Musk. Okay. And then
you know how I feel about that.
Colonialism, straight brainwashing. And then Free Will says, quote, they, unquote, are attempting, is why I say generalizing things at both speakers. And then okay,
well,
if
says,
you
okay. Know who the they is, the they is the Heritage Foundation.
Okay. And then Free Will says, okay, LaLa, on my cell phone, cannot see the names clearly. Emoji, laugh. Okay. Now getting back to Jen's question. Jen says, Aisha, what type of effect will this have on our Supreme Court, and most importantly on the justices have been appointed by Democratic presidents?
Like I said, the court would become ineffective on its own, because once they're not that co-equal branch of government, they will have to do whatever it is that the executive branch, meaning the president, does. And the other thing too that he's taking with that is that there are certain offices within the executive branch like DOJ, the Federal Communications Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, that actually operate independently of the president, even though they're in the executive office. All of those would fall under the purview of the president. So what does that mean? That means that he will be able to say what television shows, what television channels we are able to get. Where do they do that now? Russia. Where else do they do that now? China. And the Federal Trade Commission he'll also be able to determine what stocks are valued at what. Well, guess who owes $454 billion and is going to need some money? He's going to need to know some trade secrets. So that is where we are on that. If he is able to tell, he'll be able to tell DOJ who to go after. And that's the one reason that they want to institute the Insurrection Act on day one, because the plan is to arrest all of his political enemies, anyone that he does not like. And you can best believe the first people he's going after, not just Joe Biden, he's going after Barack Obama, because that is the person who lives rent free in his head 24/7 ever since Obama embarrassed him at the correspondence dinner.
Okay. Move onward. What else you want to talk about in regards to Project 2025? And also, remember, I've got a number of conversation pieces for you both, but continue on.
Okay, so here's my next one. They plan on doing a mass deportation of non-white immigrants and federalizing National Guards of the red states to do these raids and to bring people to internment camps to hold them before deporting them. But they also are looking at putting the homeless in internment camps.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of their very specific policies. And they're also remember when he did the child separation. Remember when he did the child separation, and remember how that impacted families. A lot of those kids, the majority of those kids that they separated, have not been reunited with their families. We don't talk about that now, but the majority of them have not been reunited with their families. Some have been adopted, some have not. But
and some have ended up missing. We don't know where those children are.
Right. And so they're taking that one step further. So what does that mean? That doesn't just mean, and we're not just talking about Latino immigrants, okay? We're talking about immigrants, Black folks coming from Canada, talking about from the islands, from the motherland. We're talking about Asian people. We're talking about all kinds of people. And the other thing too is what they're going to do with the indigenous people.
Yeah,
is they're going to move them all to reservations. And the problem is that the reservations, as they operate now, operate under their own governing systems as sovereign nations. That will not happen. They will fall under the purview of the Constitution of the United States, and the president will be able to determine what their government is going to look like.
Yep. Y'all thought y'all was safe, huh?
Your turn, LaLa.
Well, this next one is dealing with marriage. And let's just say that you will not have same-sex marriage. You will not have same-sex parents. They are immediately going to throw out anything that does not align with one woman. And matter of fact, they had nerve enough to say one related. You can't be a related one, So they try to be cute about that one. So no first cousins, y'all. No first cousins. So so they're going to get rid of that immediately. I know. I don't know. They might be hurting themselves with that. But anyway, they're going to get rid of any type of marriage that does not fit their narrative, which is one female born the way they see that it is. No surgeries, no nothing. As a matter of fact, with that, guys, they're also getting rid of any kind of support for reaffirming gender surgery. So when I say marriage, I mean one man, one woman having children so that they can control it, just like the Stepford wife. So any type of marriage outside of that definition, gone.
And if you're a heterosexual woman, you need to be worried too when they talk about these surgeries, because one of the things that we saw how abortion's not going to bleed over into anything. Well, it bled over into IVF, and then the IVF thing's about to bleed over into contraception. With that, the removal of sexual organs. Well, men, no one ever asks a man to remove his main sexual organ, but women do need hysterectomies from time to time.
And they will not be allowing for that.
They will not be allowing for that.
Is
And
there,
I piggyback on that. I do need to
imagine a
piggyback
woman
on
that
that.
has uterine cancer. Okay.
Yes,
She's
there you go.
uterine cancer is one of the most deadly cancers for Black women, just like breast cancer. You're not going to even have a fighting chance
Not at
if
all.
they can't do a hysterectomy.
is there any language in the document about interracial marriage?
Not yet. I didn't see that. No, I pretty much read through it more than once. It's not there yet.
I think they forgot that.
I think they did, but I would not be surprised, and I would not be surprised if that is the next thing that's coming.
But remember, they also have Clarence Thomas's ear, and that's one of the things the man is in an interracial marriage and is almost thinking about getting rid of it.
So is Mitch McConnell.
Yeah. Go figure. But I mean, what you said about the people might not think that the issues that affect the trans community have anything to do with anyone who's not trans, but this is one of those issues that does. I mean, I can just imagine if I had to have a hysterectomy because of my health and they told me that I couldn't, because in their eyes, removing the female sex organs makes you not female anymore.
Exactly.
Well, I'm supposed to stay with a whole bunch of fibroids and just live my life like that in pain?
Right. And another thing, guys, I know this is a rare situation, but it's probably not as rare as you think, is there are many people who are born intersexed. So what happens to them? Yes, that may be a slim majority, but then now they fall into the gray line of not being able to get the care that they need because they can't explain that in their Christian ideology thing that they want to do because it's so twisted fairy tale. That's why I don't even like to say the word right, because they are really smoking some kind of good fairy dust on all this stuff, on trying to make people fit into a box. Not everyone fits into a box. And here's my thing. You keep saying that we have freedom. You can't even let us have religious freedom. Christianity is not the only religion in this country.
Right.
But you want to ram it down everybody's throats. But how ridiculous is that when you're saying we're ramming the things down your throat? What you're doing is turn around and doing the exact same thing. So you're trying to force Christianity's beliefs, and they keep mentioning the Bible. And don't get me wrong, guys, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. I was born a Christian. But I'm sorry, I don't align with what they consider Christian. I'm not them. I will never be them, because my Jesus, the Jesus that I believe in, was one of the most radical, awesome people I've ever even thought of in my life. He fed the hungry. He helped the poor. And so you can't tell me that in today's world that they would not reject him. They would just crucify him again. They want to ram their problems with themselves, because see, when someone fights this hard, then they're hiding something.
Yeah.
And we know for a fact that many of these people have secret closet lives that are coming out. Yeah. So anything that they don't believe in, you better give them a triple check to see what's going on in their household, since they want to know so much about yours.
I would kind of want to piggyback on something that you said about education. It's one thing that I forgot to bring up. People often come on and ask and make the comments and ask us, well, what has this person done for Black people? What has this person done for Black people? One of the things that Barack Obama did do was the IDEA Act, which addressed racial equity in the ways in which schools track students. And what it did was it reduced the number of the over assignment of Black kids in special education classes. If you don't know how schools track, they are supposed to track student according to ability, but more often than not, those classrooms that are special ed classrooms are full of Black children who might have a behavioral problem, or it might be someone, or it might be a student. And I have seen this where there is a student who is just not overly excitable, but so excited about education, that they can't sit in their seat when they raise their hands. They get taken out of class. The teacher, usually a young white woman, finds them unruly. They get put in special ed. That is one thing that he did do. And that is one of the things that they want to repeal in terms of education. So what does that mean? It means if they don't want to educate Black kids, they will just throw them in special education. Well, guess what they also are planning to do with special education? They're planning to gut it and take away the cost. And so, for example, any state or school district or state that doesn't follow the president's idea of what education is, they will be able to take their funds and pull the funds away from that school district. So if there's a school district that isn't following it, that is doing some kind of multicultural training or talking about these things with kids, the state can come in and pull their funding and then use that money for something else.
What do you keep thinking these ladies for liberty, these women moms for liberty has been trying to get into these small roles being voted in? They already lining up. I'm telling y'all, they have these people lined up. They've chosen who they're going to put into place. Y'all need to be paying attention.
Yeah. So the next thing that I was going to
can I just put a pause on that just for
Sure.
a sec, catch up on comments? Okay, Free Will has a number of things saying actually the branches of government are not in control. Let me tell you something. It's the monetary whatever that run the show.
I agree.
Nothing wrong with one man, one woman. I'm a melatonin man and prefer melatonin women is my position. White, black was a caste system. And J.J. Marr says, well, Obama was too scared to do anything that would truly benefit Black Americans. Both parties would never allow that to happen.
Well, I'm going to say this, coming from a family of educators, we roll deep. We've all seen how Black children are treated by our educational system. And we've seen the overabundance of Black children that are put in special ed. And to have that number reduced, I think has been good for Black people, specifically Black children. I think when you look at those children who are often put in special ed classes and relegated to special ed classes, they are denied opportunities that students who are not are denied. I remember back in 1983 when I was in fourth grade, and our school had just gotten computers. Our elementary school just got computers. And the one thing that they did to monitor students' behavior was to only allow certain students to be able to use the computers. So if you were in a high track, which I was, or a high reading group, that's how they tracked us then, by reading groups. If you were in a high reading group, you got to use it. Every Friday, I got to spend 2 hours in the computer lab. The other kids in my class, mostly Black children, did not get to go but once a month. And even then, they had to have behaved a certain way. There's this one young man in my class. His name was Kyle Nally. May he rest in peace. Kyle was very easily, right now we would probably say that he had ADHD. At the time, he was just excitable. But Kyle had this brain. He was in the high reading group, but Kyle had this brain that did well with technology. They would not let him go, even though he was in the right reading group. They would not let him go because they said it was how they were monitoring his behavior. Black children are always having their behavior monitored in schools. And when the teachers get tired of monitoring the behavior, they call up the principal and make a referral to special education. How do I know this? I know this because I've seen it done. I can tell you the last time I saw it done in a school where I was the director of communications was 2014. I saw that. And the only issue with the child was that the child was in foster care from being sexually abused by the mother's boyfriend. That was the only thing with that kid.
Okay, so J.J. Marr says, All Obama offered was empty hope and change slogan. Free Will says high school class of 85. There you go. All right. Ladies, continue on. Go keep. Well, MD Ready says this: if blacks stay home, then the politicians would know that we are serious and finally respect us. I'm sure Dr. Boyce Watkins would agree.
What?
If blacks stayed home, then the politicians would know that we are serious and finally respect us. I'm sure Dr. Boyce Watkins would agree.
No, I'm sorry.
Wait,
I
wait a second. I'm
disagree
sorry.
with
You
that.
think that if we stayed home that they would respect us? If you think they don't respect us now, what makes you think that staying home would make them respect us? No. What they'll learn
You
is
just
that,
gave them exactly what they want.
they'll learn that, then we don't need to do anything with these people because they don't vote. That is, I mean, honestly, if you've ever sat in a political campaign or helped to run one or with a politician, there are many who will tell you, well, I'm not worried about that particular subset of the block because they don't vote. But you're just saying don't vote. So what is it? They wouldn't get our vote. Well, if you don't vote, they're not getting the vote.
You don't vote, they get more because whoever on their side votes is that much of a displacement of our vote and theirs. Now, listen, let me make something clear. Okay. Do I like who is running? I'm sorry. I'm not really thrilled with the Biden administration. See, this is where people start getting really ridiculous. It's all that's being offered to us right now. If I had my way, I wouldn't have either one of them. We have too many younger people who have better ideas that could be doing a lot better in our government. And this is not just for the presidency. I feel the same way about our Congress and our Senate, and I surely feel the same way about our daggone justice system, okay? Our Supreme Court. So, but this is what we have. By you staying home, whether you like it or not, you're still going to get the punishment by not taking your butt to go and vote and then letting them have their way. So no, ma'am, no, sir, I do not agree with that. Do not stay home. That is one of the stupidest things I have ever heard, because whether you like it or not, they're going to have control of your life. You at least need to get up and fight.
I mean, not voting doesn't put a imaginary bubble around us in case the wrong person gets into office. And you can best believe, look, after Trump is done with his enemies, who do you think he's coming for? He's coming for Black folks because he has identified us as an enemy. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and read the Project 2025. As much as he tries to say, I'm a friend of the Blacks, that whole thing, whenever they mention woke in there, and like I said, they mention it at least once or twice, they're talking about us. And I do, Robert, I want to know this though. Robert has made a comment. Why participate in a system that does nothing for us? Again, I say this every week because someone always says this and then they never answer the question. What specifically do you want done for us? What specifically do you want done?
Let's get down to it. Come on, talk to us. Fight for it. Tell us. Don't just keep saying, tell us.
That's the first thing. And then the second thing I have to ask, what specifically do you want done? And have you communicated that very thing? Instead of saying, oh, we just need you to do something for Black people.
Okay.
What is it specifically?
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to share a lot of conversation because I know there's more that you want to get through with Project 2025. So I want to keep that the main focus conversation. So I'm just going to run through these comments and you're going to continue on. So JG Mar says the best strategy for Black Americans is to establish an independent third party that would make both parties earn our votes. Robert Brown says we are Democrats. We are the Democrats base. They can't win without us. It's time for us to be strategic with our vote instead of voting for nothing. LaLa says, is your talking face really you? I could tune myself on YouTube. A laugh emoji. Robert Brown.
Yeah, that's really me. That's really me. That's no filter. That's no cartoon. That's really me.
Robert Brown says, punish how? What else can they do to stop us fear mongering?
No,
Bush
he's telling us to stop fear mongering. Well, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm not willing to be a sacrificial lamb because this person thinks that I should stop quote unquote fear mongering. To be perfectly
That
honest,
part.
to be perfectly honest, I don't really care what you think. I kind of wish that you were still blocked because you're being a distraction. You're not participating and you're not contributing to this.
We're here to give solutions. How about we talk about solutions?
But if you're going to talk and talk, let's get down to it and stop pretending who you are. You are a Black Republican, so please just state that, and then we can have that debate. But right now, all you're doing is being a chaos agent. And you're here to do the work of Donald Trump and Candace Owens.
All right. So
she threw the CO word out.
Could you put Boyce is not available, but I'll see if I can get him on one of the future conversations. MD underscore ready. Politically, we're playing checkers and they're playing 3-dimensional chess.
I agree with that, JJ.
I agree.
And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to focus on this and let people know what that plan is. Because if you think that we're playing checkers, the 3-dimensional, the chess is that plan.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. All right.
Because
and what's scary is they've been planning this for a long time.
You know how you know it's about to be, it's going to explode? Because the NAACP used to do tests. We talked about this in our 10 and 10. They used to test out different strategies. The bus boycott was one that they tested with Claudette Colvin first before Rosa Parks did it. Well, guess what? Project 2025 is something that they started to roll out in red states. Why do you think Florida and Texas were doing what they were doing? The internment camps and the shipping migrants off, that's in 2025. What's his name? The one in the wheelchair, Abbott. He was doing that. Ron DeSantis, the shipping of people, was doing that. The getting rid of the anti-woke stuff and all that stuff. They have been doing this in the red states. That's where they rolled it out first. Now their plan is to take it national. The 1995 crime bill is not what we're talking about now. We're talking about 2025. Can you come into this century, please? Thank you.
All right. Some other things. Prolific One says, can't choose a lesser evil over a greater evil. No, never. MD Ready says, as a Black man, life was better when 45 was in.
And I see, you know what? And now I see why. I honestly, I was going out there and I was pretty much defending. I was really defending the fact that people were saying that Trump is going to get 25% of Black male voters. I'm like, no, Black men are smarter than this. Black men will not allow themselves to be taken for this ride again. Did you all forget the 4 years that he was president?
Or did you even forget what he did to those men in New York City? That's what he wants to do to you. Remember the New York City? Mm-hmm.
All right.
Remember, stop and frisk was done by Giuliani, and that affected Black men. Well, who did Giuliani work for?
There you go.
Okay. There's a lot of different comments. MD underscore ready says, Black reparations, lower taxes, and leave guns alone. Prolific One says, we've been.
But if you don't vote, you'll never get that.
Prolific One says, we've been the sacrificial lamb to the Democratic Party since the 1960s and 50s.
That's not right. Let me just clear that up, because in the 1950s, the majority of Black people were Republicans. Black people didn't start becoming Democrats until after John F. Kennedy ran.
Okay.
Right.
Prolific One says both parties are two sides of the same snake. Also says,
I can't say I necessarily disagree with that. Right now, I'm not happy with either party. Yeah. I've been very clear with that. I agree with that. I'll give you that.
Prolific One says, who wrote the 1995 crime bill? And JG Martin says, NAACP, Urban League, and the rest have literally been useless for the last 58 years.
Can I just make a statement on this 1995 crime bill? Like I said, come back into this century, because they dismantled a lot of the parts of it.
So let's get back to Project 2025.
Yeah, thank you.
Who wants to go next? Or I have questions for both of you, because you guys are going. Go ahead. Keep on going.
Yeah, Oh, the other thing too, I wanted to make sure that people understood was that they're going to shrink the Department of Energy, which to me is kind of like shooting themselves in the foot despite their face. So they're getting rid of like all the climate justice technology, but then they're also going to cut energy, energy is, you know, our gas and oil and all of that kind, and you know, they're trying to get rid of that. So I don't understand what the point is. They never went into it and explained it. I don't understand what's the point of getting rid of energy if you're already going to deregulate gas through the climate justice issue. So there are also quite a few contradictions I find in there, but yeah, the one with the energy didn't make sense to me, and I have a feeling it's not designed to make sense because there's something else behind it. I'm wondering if this allows them to start buying our energy from Russia or doing a pipeline from Russia to Alaska and into the United States. Because remember, Russia is one of the countries that produces a large amount of energy, gas, and oil to Europe.
Now, here's a good tap in for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, y'all know what else is in here. We all know that Russia is the danger. We know this, but they have chosen to pretty much ignore the fact that Russia is dangerous and are going to be doing an all-out attack on China. So basically, they're going to circumvent anything that Russia does and go straight to China. Now, do I have concerns about that? Yes, I do. I do have very many concerns about what's going on in China with the spy balloons and things of that nature. But you can't just ignore one evil demon head to go to another one. But they're willing to close their eyes to Russia in order to get what they want. Because let's not forget, Russia has resources that we need. And Russia, if you really think about it, guys, it's not that far. When you go to Alaska, there's just one little strip that separates Russia from us. And we can tap into that very easily. So the fact that they're going to ignore one problem, which is a massive problem because he's threatening to nuke everybody every single day and go straight to China, you need to be concerned about that. You cannot pick and choose your enemies. Your enemies are everywhere.
Okay. Also, so Free Will says scary. MD_radio.
I don't think we should even justify that comment or have it viewed. I'm really
okay.
Just
so then let me, I don't know, just get some more stuff, some more things. It sounds like you have a long list.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not done yet, because the next thing they're going to do is they're going to strip your grandma and your grandpa of their Social Security that they have put into all these years. They've been waiting to do this for so long. As a matter of fact, they've already started doing it, haven't they, Aisha? They started this mess last week. They came out and said they're going to. They put it on the plan to strip Social Security, which also includes Medicare. Okay, and what else does that include, y'all? VA benefits. Yep. So our warriors, who truly are the patriots who fought for our country, will now be stripped of everything that they have earned.
Oh, and let me tell you who needs to
that is too much money.
And let me tell you who needs to be most afraid right now about that. Gen X. And the reason, we're all Gen Xers here. And the reason I say that is because what they're trying to do is raise the retirement age on us. On us. It will go into effect when the first Gen Xer is about to approach 70.
So now, you know, you're going to be 90 working at Walmart.
Right. Now you're going to, exactly. Now you're going to have to work longer. On average, most people do not retire until they're in their 70s, which means that for Gen X, we'll be retiring at 85 and knocking at the door of 90. I don't know about you all, but I am 49 going on 50. I do not plan on working the next 40 years of my life.
I don't either, and I'm 54.
Keep on going, because I got conversation pieces from me that I want to have both of you address. So keep on going.
Let's talk about the expansion of the powers of the president. And the reason I'm returning back to that, and I'm saying that we can't look away from it, is that everything that we look at now in terms of being the job of, say, Congress or the judicial branch will be the president's job. We're not just in control of DOJ and FBI, all that. I'm talking about he will tell Congress what laws and what bills to bring to the floor and which ones to vote on and how to vote. And the reason I'm bringing that up now is because he's already doing it. He's already doing it. How do we know this? Because the immigration bill that passed the Senate was on point to pass in the House. He told them, stop it. And even people, with the exception of the one guy the one Republican, all the people that were working on the immigration bill that were on the Republican side then came out against the bill that they worked on. So yeah, he's telling them not to do that. He also told them not to vote on the budget. Why do you think they waited till the 11th hour to pass the budget? He said to not do it. He already has his grubby little dirty hands in Congress as it is. And he's not even an elected official anymore. He's just a private citizen. He's a private citizen and a criminal defendant. Yes, we have a criminal defendant telling our legislature what to do. Not one person said anything about Joe Biden or Obama in terms of who to vote for. Prolific.
All right. So
I'm still waiting to hear what it is exactly.
I'm waiting for a solution. We're waiting to hear what your response is, because if there's one thing about us, we are fair.
Yeah.
And if you have a solution that is something that we would consider, then I will consider it. But right now, you just want to continue to balk about what we're trying to deliver to you. And I can pretty much bet you probably haven't even bothered to read this.
I bet you he's never watched the show before. We're not pandering to any political party. We're trying to inform you as to what is going on, but you don't want to be informed. You want to just complain.
So Free Will says Putin let him run his own country. Respectfully, Gen X here. MD says Social Security won't be around soon. They have been in the red since 2011. Why not invest more so we don't have to be dependent on the, I don't know what the SS
actually
is.
Social Security is not and has not been in the red. That's actually been a Republican talking point, because guess what?
Yeah.
When people work, Social Security gets put in. Now that it's actually in a pretty good place right now, because we are at very high employment. In the past, when we're at very low unemployment, very high unemployment, then of course people worry about Social Security. But right now we have the lowest unemployment rate of any industrialized country post-COVID. So yeah.
Well, MD Ready has a thumbs up.
Not only that, but I have a child that's about to enter the workforce, and it looks like they're going to be paying more in taxes than we do.
There you go.
These poor kids.
Yeah, JJ Mars says both parties support cheap labor coming across the southern border. These are the new working class displacing millions of Americans.
Can I ask a question about that? Displacing millions of Americans from what jobs? Because I don't see that our people are ready and willing to go running back to doing things that our people already had to do to make a living. So are you talking about picking fruit? No, and now I will not relax. Please do not ever tell a woman to relax. What is it? What are the jobs that they're supposedly taking? I want to know.
All right. Any other things from 2025?
Well, I do want to say this before you ask your questions, because I know we are going long, but this is just that important. But honestly, guys, I really had a hard time sitting down and reading this. And there were many times that I had to actually sit it down and really check myself, because I do think that I'm a fair person. And I can sit down and be a person who can think about what's good and bad from both sides, pros and cons. But this document is quite frightening and very scary. And this is something that you just don't read through and go, eh. So I've actually read it more than once.
Yeah.
But, you guys keep talking about Social Security and how it's, it's in the red and blah, blah, blah. But even your God, your Republican God, Reagan, said that Social Security had nothing to do with our deficit. And that it never had and it never will be a part of our deficit. This is a fake dragon head that's being talked about by that. But even your party, when he was alive and everybody was bound down to him, has said that nothing, Social Security had nothing to do with our deficit. So back up off it. We were the ones who are funding it. The people who work are the ones who fund it. So I don't want to hear that argument anymore. Make your mind up.
Yeah, and to assume that I just got to speak to this one thing. To assume that we're pandering to the Democratic Party, I got to say this: you don't know how we vote. You're making assumptions, and for me, telling our people about Project 2025 is a must. I sat like LaLa and read this whole thing too. I didn't read it like a Democrat. I'm actually probably more Working Families Party than anything. I didn't read it as, the mindset of somebody who could possibly be independent. What I did read it as somebody in this country who has a child, who has parents, who has sisters, who has a nephew. And I read it as someone who lives in a safely blue state. And to know that what the safety and security that I have in my blue state right now, that you don't necessarily see in these Republican states. Like, they're not doing in Connecticut what they're doing in Florida.
Yeah, now you're in my territory.
But no, right. Now you're in my territory when you're talking about bringing Florida to Connecticut. Okay? That's
and which is really interesting, because you guys are those who are don't know us very well. You're new to our show. Now Aisha says she's in a blue state. She knows she's in a blue state. I'm originally born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. So I know Mitch McConnell from a very young age when he first got into politics. And that's how he got his power, by starting in the lower ranks. My husband and I then moved to Colorado, which typically is a pretty mixed state. I call it a blurple state. But then we moved to California for about 14 years, which is completely blue, becoming more red in certain parts. Did I agree with everything that California was doing? No, I thought there were a lot of things that didn't make any sense in California. So for me, when I think politically, I think about our country first, and how it's important to remember what we grew up with: the pursuit of life, liberty, and justice. There's no one is above anyone else. This is the great American melting pot. We do not belong here. We came here and took over. So therefore, now you need to understand that you can't take away things that don't belong to you. You just came over and claimed, just like you claim everything else that you've done, and you've done nothing for yourself, that you are the superpower of the whole world. No, sir, no, ma'am. Everybody deserves their rights. I don't care who you are: black, brown, green, purple, blue, polka dot. I am a person who will vote what's best interest for America. So I don't want to hear that we are trying to scare people. No, we're not trying to scare people, but the things that are in this document really are frightening. That's how scary it is. That's why we're being so passionate about it, because we can't believe what we're reading.
Yeah. And
it's like reading Handmaid's Tale.
What I can't believe is some people's nonchalance about it. I mean, free will. I'm not on YouTube. I'm on StreamYard, and we're playing all over the place. And I'm not wearing blue eyeshadow. It's turquoise.
All right. Let's see. You know what? I'm just going to go to some of my questions for you two about this document. So let me ask first conversation piece.
Mm-hmm.
How, if at all, will Project 2025, from your lens, address the lack of Black representation in federal government, if at all?
They're going to get rid of us.
Yeah.
They're already stripping us. So any say that we have now, anybody who's already in these departments, are 3 rings and anything underneath that in state governments, they're stripping you of it. They are giving the president of the United States all power. So if you say anything against him, or he even looks at you and go, I don't like you, you're a little too dark, Well, arrest him. That's exactly what's going to happen. That's not a made up thing. He has actually said if he doesn't like you or you disagree with him in any kind of way, you are going to be pretty much arrested. And this is how it's going to be for no reason at all. Just because he doesn't like you.
And two things. Remember, there are a lot of civil service people. They're not politicians. They're people who are just citizens who work for the federal government. They have a slate of people who are going to come in and replace them, right? They're going to be all of the names of the people that I've seen. I haven't seen a person of color. That's first thing. Second of all, do you all remember during COVID when he had the military go into the street and fire rubber bullets at Black Lives Matter protesters and then turn on tear gas on them? That is what he.
And yet he's going to let everybody out from January 6th.
When he said he's going to do the Insurrection Act day one, that is what he means, and he has said it clearly. If you go back and listen to his last 10 interviews, last couple of speeches, what he has said is that I'm going to do the Insurrection Act on day one. Anyone who protests, we're going to throw them in prison. Yep. And it won't be just that police come up to you and arrest you. It's going to be violent. You remember those scenes that you see on TV of the 1960s where the police force is turning hoses on people and sicking dogs on them? Right. That is what he has in mind. Because how do we know that's what he has in mind? Because he's been telling us in every rally, especially in the 2016 rallies, when he was saying, don't handle them nicely, handle them rough. I tell the police, hit somebody's head on the thing. And he's been telling us ever since. And
he never lied.
Right. And so if you think that this isn't going to affect us in any way, I just ask you to go look online, go watch all of the YouTube, find as many YouTube videos as you can from the summer of 2020. Donald Trump did every day while we were in the height of COVID. Every day he did a press conference. And in every press conference, he told you what a bigot he was. Every press conference, he told you what an idiot he was. In every press conference, he told you what a dictator he was.
Okay.
And he's already told you that he's going to be a dictator day one. He said he doesn't need to be a dictator no more than day one. Because day one is it.
Oh, the last thing I think that we should mention about Project 2025 is in the very most important part is that in the end, they don't leave you with elections. And, some people are like, well, you have said through this thread, oh, well, neither party does anything for us, so why not vote? Well, guess what? You won't have the right to vote. He is going to make himself, the plan is for him to make himself through executive order president until he's ready to not be president anymore. So
he can do that because he's stripped power of the Senate.
It doesn't matter. It won't matter. It won't matter then if you don't vote. Okay?
Yeah.
But we will not be a democracy. We will be a dictatorship.
Okay. Some quick conversation piece I want to ask. Does the project at all acknowledge systemic racism in government at all?
Does what?
No. Does it address systemic racism? No.
Okay.
No, because guess what? Systemic racism is DEI to them, and they got rid of that. Saying systemic racism is woke, and they're very anti-woke.
Is there any mention at all for the long-term vision of racial equality and economic opportunity for Black Americans at all in the document?
No, there's no such thing as Black Americans anymore. This is what you need to remember. There are no such things as Black Americans anymore.
Oh, she's right. No, she's absolutely right. This is the one thing I wanted to mention. I totally forgot it, but I put it in my notes. The census, the U.S. Census, they're going to get rid of the racial classifications in the U.S. Census. Everything is going to default to white. So the people that represent you, remember, they use the census to determine the population, and the population determines how many House seats a government has, right? And
Yep.
even though those House seats will be neutralized by him taking power, they still have to do the passage of laws process. One thing they said they won't deal with, but he'll tell them how to vote. He's going to have it's going to be his people. It's going to be his people. And that is the thing that I think really stuck out to me and got me, was them changing they're going to change they're going to get rid of racial classifications, and they're going to get rid of income classifications on the census. And that means everything would default to white and rich.
That's right.
Because remember,
there's your two parties now, white and rich.
When we don't classify things by race in this country, the default always ends up being white.
So then why hasn't the Democratic Party mentioned this more? Because I think this would be certain, why haven't they talked about this more?
And isn't that the fallacy there? It's like, come on, what are you guys doing? We only have a certain amount of time to do your platform. And I don't know what you're not talking. Look, I don't know what you're not talking about. I also don't know what you're talking about, because there are so many things and so many different ways that they can hit that. Honestly, having run campaigns before, I would make this whole thing the centerpiece of how they campaign. And I'm not just talking about in the presidency. I'm talking about all of them. I think I would make this the centerpiece. This is why you need to be worried. This is why we can't have these Marjorie Taylor Greens and these Lauren Boeberts and these Matt Gaetzes in government anymore.
And this is where people think we're just bashing, but I'm going to probably make some people angry and don't care. I am extremely disappointed in our Democrats. This is beyond something that they can stand on. This is such a strong platform. And for them not to even be mentioning this at all shows you just how dysfunctional that we all are. Now, listen, I told you, I don't care what right is right and wrong is wrong. I don't care what party you are. But the fact that the Democrats are not standing up and doing their job for us is shameful. And they need to be called out for it, period.
I'm sorry. The Republican Party is going to do what they're going to do. RNC is going to do what they're going to do. Trump already did his thing, but I believe that the DNC needs to be cleaned out. Jamie Harrison, what are you doing? Nothing. Exactly. He's not effective at his job. And the DNC has had, two back-to-back ineffective leaders, right? Right now, you need somebody that has a strategy that's going to be like, no, we're going to inform people. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to talk about these policies. What this group of people is saying that we're not talking to them directly. Okay, let's talk to them directly. This is what this is what they're asking. Let's have a policy on it. But to just, I don't know what Jamie Harrison does. All I know is that he lost to Lindsey Graham, and they made him head of the DNC.
So, do you see at all the Republican Party reaching out to Black Americans about this at all? I know I'm not. No. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want.
No, we have to do it ourselves.
This is why we felt it was really important to talk about on our show. And yes, Free Will says, we got too much to say. Yes, we do have an opinion. And I don't, honestly, maybe we have more of a passionate opinion because we are mothers, not to give any kind of discredit for fathers at all. But you have to understand that one of the first things mothers do is want to protect. And when we think about the things that are coming down the pike for our children, our future generations, this is where you're seeing the passion. This is what all women of color and any minority or anyone who isn't a white Christian nationalist should be fighting for. We should be in the streets screaming this. People need to understand this as well, instead of trying to worry about TikTok being banned. And I do believe that's my personal side opinion. I think they're trying to ban it just because we learn too much on that platform and they don't want us to know. But we do have a lot to say, and it's important for us to say. And if we're not going to say it, who's going to say it? That's what this platform is about. And yes, it was passionate, and yes, it was fast and furious, but it's 900 pages of pure
Yeah. And again, I if you hadn't noticed, we're women. Just the fact that you're policing us in how we are trying to express ourselves, express this, that says more about you than it does about us. Because what you just told us is that you are not only misogynistic, but you have misogynoir. It's with Black women. Do you do this to other women of other persuasions?
Why can't we express our voice and be clear about it without having all the things that were said or thrown at us this evening? It's very disheartening.
Right.
It's very disheartening. I will be very honest about that, because you see, we came here to educate and uplift and show you how this is dangerous. But what I didn't expect, and I'm going to be very honest, I didn't expect all the things that we got, Aisha. And I will tell you right now that it's very disheartening. And there were a couple that just literally made me want to just, it's angry cry. When I angry cry, that's the wrong place you want to take me. Do you not see that I care? We care about our people. We care about our country. I'm not here for tit for tat, because you see, this is their work. What they want to do is to divide us. The longer that we are divided and we don't see that the true threat is them just telling us exactly what they're going to do, but they're going to fight about it. Don't worry, we're going to go ahead and pass this because, hey, they down there just fighting. That is the problem.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry, Will, but right now you're patronizing us. We are grown women. We're not girls. We're not gals. We're grown women who have jobs, who pay taxes, who are educated. And the way that you're talking to us is really disgusting. I don't understand where the drama is, but for us, I think one of the things that has been disheartening about this conversation to me is that not just because we're well informed, this is airing on the Fly Nubian Queen Network, where Black women have a voice, and we have seen nothing but a bunch of men try to shut us up.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to end the conversation for today, and let's make sure that we continue on, and let's try to hold each other in dignity. All right. So that's it.
Dr. Vibe, I'm so sorry to butt in, but Free Will had one more thing to say. And if you'd be so kind to put that on the screen. Cry me a river. I'm a dad. YouTube isn't the place for this type of conversation. Well, I beg to differ, sir.
Have you seen this on YouTube?
This is exactly where they're taking it, and we have just as much of a voice. And I'm happy that you're dad of daughters. You should be really frightened right now about what this says, because they're going to strip your daughters of everything.
My dad's a dad of daughters too, and he is scared.
All right.
But what I'm saying is, you should probably check yourself, sir, because we've shown you nothing but respect.
All right.
And we expect respect in return.
All right. So on that note, we are going to close it down. As always, ladies, I want to thank you for taking the most important thing that you have, and you can't get back, your time. So as always, I want to say thank you and find out where people can get in touch with you if they want to. LaLa, you are first.
Well, I'm not so sure that they want to, and they probably might not like my content, but that's okay. You can still, because I still have freedom of voice, and I will always have that as an American. I will always speak out. So you can always find me on Living the LaLa. Yes, you'll find a lot of lighthearted things there too, but I do talk about things that are important to me in my life, not just politics. You can also find me on TikTok and YouTube. And I used to say X, but I'm still fighting them.
Okay, no problem. Aisha K.
Yeah, you can find me at Aisha K Staggers on Instagram or Aisha Staggers on X. Know that I do not suffer fools, but the best place to find me is on our Discord channel.
All right. So finally, for me, you can find me at a few places. Website, drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Sorry, the Dr. Vibe Show. There you go. The THE space DR period space VIBE space SHOW. Instagram at the Dr. Vibe Show, which is at THEDR VIBE SHOW. X, when I'm there once in a while, at DRVIBE SHOW, and email dr period at the drvibeshow.com. You can watch replays of this epic conversation at a few places: the Dr. Vibe Show website, and also you can catch it on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So that is a wrap, family, and let's make sure we treat each other with dignity as much as possible. So as always, I want to end off with this. Let me just do this, and we do this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourselves grace. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Walk good, and we'll catch you on the digital highway. Take care.